In this video, we're going to use the Frankford Arsenal X-10 to load some 6mm Creedmoor ammo, but this time we're going to be using the rifle bullet feeder kit from Frankford Arsenal as well. What we'll do is we'll get this press converted from pistol to rifle and load some ammo. Let's get to it. Hey there, Kyle Shields from UltimateReloader.com. So before we tear the press down, let's go ahead and get all these parts out of the box for the caliber conversion kit. Probably pretty straightforward. Oh man, this one's a lot more hefty than the pistol version. That's pretty crazy. Have to see what that's about. Oh, losing a lock ring there. Some foam, instructions of course, and silica packet. Nothing exciting there. All right, what's in the bullet collator? Should be very similar to the pistol one, so more instructions, cables and hardware, and try to be delicate here. It looks like the plate and the rifle collator itself. All right, so that's all pretty straightforward. That's what you get in the box for each of these. Frankford Arsenal does offer different caliber conversion kits, so you can find that on their website. But what I'm going to do now is get this press tore down, get everything installed, and update you then. Okay, so we're almost fully done converting from pistol to rifle. I wanted to give you a quick overview of what I have so far, and then what I'll do next is show you step by step how to install the rifle bullet feeder. So what do I have going on? Well, the very first thing I did while I had this press apart is added a few different upgrades. And the reason is because last time I loaded a 308 style case, now this is 6mm Creedmoor, which means the base is similar to 308. I had some issues with case feed where cases were skipping over the shell plate and kind of falling over and not being fed properly. So what I did was added a shim kit, and I also added a clamp for the shell plate. And then while I was at it, I upgraded to a metal case feed arm. Now all these three things are from Armanov. While Frankford Arsenal doesn't make the clamp or metal case feed arms, they do sell a shim kit if you're interested. So if you're having trouble with case feed on rifle, maybe try adding the shim kit and see if that fixes it for you. So I did a handful of tests and everything seems to be working really good now. So that's actually really nice. It's a lot less frustrating. So what do I have going on here so far? So on station number 1, as always, I have case feed. Station number 2, I have a popper decapper. Station number 3 is full length size, also with decapping if it's needed. Station number 4 is a hold down die and our swaging operation. Station number 5 is a hold down die with our priming. Station number 6 is empty. Station number 7 is our powder thrower. And station number 8 is a powder check die, the basic one we have here from RCBS. Seems to work really well, very easy to set up. So on station number 9, we'll be adding the bullet feeder. And then station number 10, I might add another hold down die to kind of counteract all the forces from the right-hand side here of the sizing and other hold downs and such. So maybe I'll add just like a basic powder measure die of some sort. So the cases will just simply pass through. It's just to simply counteract those forces, like I said. So I've had some questions before of what is a hold down die and why do you need one? Well, when you're doing something like priming or especially swaging, where the cases are, basically going on opposite force, right? So you have a swaging arm coming up and pressing against the case. That can lift the shell plate a little bit and cause a lot of deflection. So what a hold down die does is basically just keep it set in place. So that's kind of a really quick, brief explanation of what a hold down die is. You typically don't use them on single stage systems, of course. It's just progressive presses where you have especially a lot going on like you do here. So what I'll do next, like I said, is show you step by step of how to install the bullet feeder. First, before you begin, you want to grab an M3 sized hex key. You can obviously use an Allen key that's included with a lot of kits. And then you'll want to remove the retaining ring here and then pop out the bullet guide assembly. and then remove this lock ring. Like so. Now you'll see there are a bunch of M4 screws all around here. We're just going to remove all of them. Do be careful, there are hex nuts on the opposite side that could easily fall all over the floor or all over your bench. So just maybe hold this over a surface when you're removing all these. There we go, put all that in one place. Now we can separate the two halves, like so. There's one side and there's the other. And so what we're left with is just basically the die itself. So let's move over to the press and get this installed. So I'm going to be installing the bullet feeder on station 9. Typically you'll want station 8, 9, and 10 all free. Since I have my powder check on station 8 and it's pretty low profile, I'm not really concerned with it getting in the way. In this case, as you can see, it's doing just fine. So we're going to screw the die down all the way until it bottoms out on the shoulder on the top of the tool head. And so now you'll see that the rotor is facing the wrong way. We want the rotor facing out towards me. So we're just going to back the die off just so slightly until it's about right there. Now we're going to take our lock ring and install it on the bottom side of the tool head, not the top. And when we go to tighten this down, it's recommended that you tighten it down 10 to 25 foot-pounds. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go by feel. And also, it's hard to get a wrench underneath there, so if you have a 1-inch socket, this makes the job much, much easier and a lot less hassle. Let me get my setting dialed in there. There we go. About right there. There we go. Let's make sure that we're good. All right, so now we can reinstall our two halves onto the bullet feeder assembly. I'm just going to get started with a couple of socket cap screws and then fill in the rest. Looks like I already have a nut in there, so I'm going to get this one tightened down. All right, now I'm just going to cinch down all these M4 screws, and we should be good to go for this step. All right, done. Last thing we got to do is install our bullet guide. Now make sure that the O-ring is facing on the bottom, and then we'll secure it with the retaining nut. Just slides in like so. I'm going to grab my socket that I used earlier and just go hand tight. This does not need to be cinched down very much. Just like so. All right. So now we see the rotor working and we got the bullet guide installed. Now to move on to the staging tube assembly, you'll see on here there's a groove, and that will engage with a set screw right here on the top. So it can be a little tricky to find, but there's an opening, and on the back there's a set screw. So you'll need a M2 sized hex key. And we're just going to back out the set screw just a little bit, not all the way. You don't want to lose that set screw. So now we're going to press the staging tube assembly all the way down until you feel it bottom out. And then from the looks of it, I might need to back mine out just a touch. We'll start tightening down the set screw and see where we're at. So you kind of just want to feel around. There we go, until you can feel the set screw sinking in, and it's tightened on there now and looks good. So now let's get the bullet depth limiter set. In order to adjust the bullet depth limiter, you're going to need the bullet of your choice. In this case, I chose Berger 105 grain. Gavin had a lot of success with these a while back with the 6mm Creed rifle that he gave me. So I figured, hey, I'm going to try to duplicate that load, instead use Stayball 6.5 this time. So I've already got a case that is primed and has the powder charge in here that I like, which is 42.2 grains, and I have just one bullet set aside here. So in order to do this, we're going to drop in a bullet at the top right here. And so you'll see it sitting on top of the rotor. Next, take your case and feed it into station number 9. Then we're going to lower the tool head, and you'll see that the bullet has fallen through the opening here. And what we're looking for is, when you adjust this knob here, is we want the tip of the bullet to sit about halfway between the opening. Something around like that. And we're going to advance. And then I already backed out the micrometer a fair deal. These are pretty long bullets, so with it all the way down, it was not letting bullets pass through. So just a heads up, that may or may not apply to you. So let's see what we get. It should just lightly, there we go, seat the bullet. Now it's not fully seated, it's just sitting on top there. I can still pull it. But that shows that the bullet depth adjustment is now set. So next, we just need to adjust our micrometer to seat the bullet to the length that we want. So I've already got a bullet lined up in here, so we're just going to see where we're at. Like I said, I already backed this off a little bit, so I'm just going to cinch it down a little bit more. And with a bullet in there, you should be able to turn the micrometer until you feel a bit of resistance, which means that the bullet is being pushed into the top of the neck. Let's see where we're at. Yep, there we go. Okay. So, as you can see, we are entirely too long. I can already tell, so I'm just going to keep cranking this down a little bit more. And then measure from there, which will probably still be pretty far out, I imagine. So let's see where we're at here. One thing to note, it's ideal to have the entire shell plate empty while you're doing this, because you want to make sure you're feeling the bullet seating and making sure that nothing is messing up or getting caught. So don't do sizing operations or anything at all. Just focus on this step, just so you know. Let's see where we're at. Oh yeah, we got a ways to go, 2.94. So let's just keep on going. According to Gavin's data from a while back, I'm looking for 2.811. That's what I'm aiming for. 2.81 on the dot. So I'll back this off just a little bit, but overall, I'm pretty happy with that. So next, we can get the rifle bullet collator installed. In order to install the rifle bullet collator, you'll need the hardware that I showed earlier, as well as the little cable, and later we'll need this plate for adjusting the right size for our bullets. But it installs right underneath the case collator, so if you've installed the pistol collator before, it's pretty much the same thing. In order to install it, you'll need a 5mm hex key, as well as a 10mm wrench. Might as well just lose it right now, I'm kidding. So the bolts go, well, the washers go through the bolts like so first. And then you got your flange nuts, which go on the rear back here. So I like to go ahead and install the bolts through the collator first. I find it a little easier. And the cool thing is, once you get it slotted in, it can kind of hang out until you get yourself ready to tighten everything down. Be careful not to crush any cables if you have some cable management like I do back here, just a heads up. I'll do a double visual to make sure that we're not indeed crushing any cables. Okay, looking pretty good. All right. Now to grab the wrench and the hex key and tighten this down. And that's it. Should be on there, and it is. Okay, now we take that power cable, unwind it here. And so I've already got one from the pistol collator, but let's just say we didn't have that. See you later. There's an out port right here. So you got your power in and then you got power out. So it's got like a pass through. So the cable goes through the out port on your case collator and then goes to the in port on the bullet collator. And that is that. So everything's plugged in. So if I turn on the case collator, as long as this is off, then, which it is, it shouldn't turn on yet. And there we go. All right, so we are operational. Now let's get the plate set to our burger bullets so that we're feeding reliably. In order to adjust the bullet feed plate, there are 4 socket head cap screws all the way around the plate. And in order to adjust them, you're going to need a 3mm sized hex key. So as you can see, this thing slides left and right a fair deal. Now, out of the factory, it was already pretty close to what I want, but what you're looking for is from the base of the bullet to the tip there. So basically, the tip of your bullet needs to be 1/8 of an inch away from the other side of the opening. So I'm gonna just take an educated guess and go about right here and see where I'm at. A little back. Probably about right there, maybe just a touch forward. Yeah, about right there. So I'm gonna carefully tighten all of these screws down and then verify my setting once I'm done tightening it. Probably don't need to go as loose as I did here, but I wanted to show you how it slides back and forth. Yeah, I'm happy with that. All right, let's just make sure everything's cinched down. All right, now we can install our bullet feed plate. Note that there is a plastic tab up here. You can opt to either loosen the screw and swing it out of the way, but in this case, if you're careful, you can just simply pry it up a little bit. Do be careful and slide the plate underneath. And then, wow, I actually got that locked in first try. There we go. Just make sure it's engaged and set in there. So on the back here, you'll notice there is a thumb screw and a gate. So we're gonna open that gate to the openmost position like so. And since my case feed is powering my bullet feed collator, I'm gonna need to turn that on first. Make sure you start the bullet feed at the lowest setting. So turn the knob all the way counterclockwise in this case. Turn them both on. Okay, we're powered. So now we can load up about 50 to 100 bullets. I might just do a couple handfuls there. There we go. Okay, and I'm gonna hold the spring so we don't have bullets all over the floor. And get it powered on. Okay, so far so good. So now we can tighten this thumb screw to preserve our setting. And with that, we're getting really close. So now we can attach our bullet feeder to our bullet collator assembly. In order to get the collator connected to the feed assembly, there's a spring here, and you'll see that there's a spring clamp. You'll need a 2.5mm hex key to loosen the socket head cap screws back here. So just loosen those. It's probably good. Let's push the spring all the way in until it bottoms out. Make sure it's firmly seated. And I might loosen it just a little more to be sure. I think we're good. Okay, now we can tighten this down. Let's do a quick operation check as well. Okay. Now we can connect the cables. So there's a 3.5mm from the collator. Just plug that in. First, make sure that this is powered off, by the way. And then you can plug in the power to the out port on the back here, like so. All right, now we can do our first test and see how everything works. Let's get our case feed turned on. In this case it is. Okay, there we go. Get our speed back up. Now it should shut off right about there. Okay, so what you want to see is that it's shut off right at the tip here and not gathering at the spring. In my case, this adjustment works well, so I'm not going to touch it. But if they're gathering up here in the spring, you can use the same 2.5 hex key and adjust these, loosen these screws and adjust this up or down. But right now it's, like I said, in the perfect sweet spot. So now it's finally time to get this run up and do some loading. I'm excited for this. All right, well, here it is. I have all the stations full. So now it's finally time to do some loading and see how everything works. Just making sure to keep an eye on my powder check. All right, everything is working well. I'm just going to continue cranking out a bunch more ammo and try to get this bin relatively full. I don't have a whole lot of brass here, but for a bolt action rifle, that should be a lot of ammo. So I'm going to get to it and I'll be right back. All right, well, it's not a whole lot, but this is for a bolt action 6 Creed. Everything went really smoothly. As you can tell, I'm out of cases because that thing is just spinning empty, but the bullet feeder didn't skip a beat. It worked really well. I did have to make an adjustment to the window here for the detection. It turns out it was gathering up in the spring, but that was a 2-minute job at best. Overall, everything worked really well. Case feed is working much better. What do you guys think of the X-10 setup I have with the rifle bullet feeder? Are you guys going to get one if you have an X-10? Have you added the pistol bullet feeder already? And is this going to be an addition to your X-10? What do you load on your X-10 if you have one, or any other press or any other cartridge for that matter? Yeah, overall, it's a really neat press. The fact I'm able to swage this brass in particular and everything and do all my operations all in one go and end with a completed cartridge is pretty cool. So if you do like X-10 content in general, we have a bunch on the channel, but specifically check out the time I added the pistol bullet feeder to the X-10 about a year ago. It's pretty fun. One thing to note that I do like about this system, actually better, is while the shuttle system is pretty cool on the pistol version, it does have a tendency to jam up with certain bullets, but the rotor design on this I found is much more reliable. It takes up less space. I can actually have a little bit more room for powder check dies and things like that, which is pretty cool. So I actually quite like this really well, and I was surprised that it worked with these, really long burger bullets here. I was wondering about that when I had this all conceptualized, but anyway, yeah, it's pretty good. So what do you guys think? Drop a comment, let me know, and I'll see you down there in the comment section. That's all for this one, and until next time, I'll see you all later.
I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're watching Ultimate Reloader on TV and want to take advantage of free resources, exclusives, and hot deals, just hold your camera phone up to the QR code, tap on the link, fill out the information, boom, you're getting Ultimate Reloader emails. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, we're on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, where we've got unrestricted content, and Instagram. Make sure to follow us on all those channels. Ultimate Reloader also has a commercial solutions division serving law enforcement, the military, and the gun industry. We have some unique capabilities, including a comprehensive suite of recoil testing and evaluation capabilities, trigger profiling, and more. Thanks again for watching.